Data log of Celian First Contact, 2667. Chief Counsel Column. Column exhaled an audible sigh once Torlak left. Other members of the council began discussing among themselves once again the matter at hand. Two of the council members, Golem and Reka, who donned green and red respectively, were once again arguing the decision on this new species. Should we not at least have voted to initiate diplomatic relations first, Reka? Golem, I give you credit for your diplomacy with the Union, but please keep in mind how much blood was shed just to maintain our borders. We can't risk that. Do not let your sympathy cloud your judgment. Golem resigned, leaving Reka with his head high, having won their argument. Golem motioned to speak, and the four councilmen quieted. Reka is right. It was not long since our border wars with the Union were fought. Reka raised his nose high. However, if not for Golem, we would not have such a sturdy treaty to use against the Union, and as such, they are honor-bound to it. The four nodded in agreement. What say you, Reka? He motioned to a blue-robed individual, small in stature to the rest. Logistically, we don't know how these people would fare against our military. We're not the best in ground warfare, so our best bet would be ship warfare, he added. If they are new, it's possible this campaign will be swift. I do hope so, Callum said with a heavy heart. Polis, you look like you wish to say something. The purple-robed individual rose from his seat, towering over his fellows. Of course I do. With the fathers before us, we as the current have a duty to uphold. I do not regret this decision to brand these spacefarers as an enemy akin to the Union. He paused, regaining his composure. It is the right thing to do for our people. We need that territory, and the farther from Union space, the better. He garnered the collective nods from his brothers and sat down. Kalim slumped into the back of his chair that rose above him, and his white drapes provided cushion on the already comfy chair he sat upon. Polis, state to the people. If we wish to make this campaign a decisive one, we will need the support of the masses. I do not care how you do it, just do it, he said before rising from his seat. The four rose as he made his way out of the chamber, and he sighed heavily. Callum removed his ceremonial robes and sat at his desk. He had all the time to contemplate his decision, but shoved them aside reluctantly. O fathers, I ask that you watch over the war chief and his forces for a successful campaign, and for our victory and mercy to wash us of our sin. He prayed to himself. Not long after he retired to his quarters, he received a notification on his desk monitor. It was a speech by Polis. My, he certainly works fast, Callum mumbled to himself and played the video. It was the central square in the heart of their capital, Artre. It wasn't far from the War Council's chambers, but it was also the most populated for all to see. He played it. Fellow Celians, hear me now. He paused. For how long have we lived under the fear of the Galactic Union? For now our borders with them stay quiet, but ever vigilance is required to stay their hand and protect our borders. He paused once more before continuing. Our honored war chief has come across a new and fearsome foe. They stay silent in the stars, stalking new and upcoming colonies. What can we do with such a foe? I say we attack. They have encroached on our latest colony and have killed fellow citizens of Celia. Boos and vulgarity sprouted from the crowd, and Polis continued. That is why we need every able-bodied individual to aid in this fight against this scourge. He began playing doctored videos previously played to them by Torlak. They have no unity, and they prey on each other. The video shocked the crowd, and anger was present in their eyes. Barbarians, savages, and all related terms were thrown at their new enemy. So join us. Join the fight against the scourge of the stars. Join Celia. The crowd bellowed in support. It was due to the speech that all branches saw a vast increase in recruitment across all of their space. Not just the military, but industrial jobs as well. Callum accesses records of each source of production. While the military saw the highest, shipbuilders and military technology saw a rise in applicants. Such a case would generate a large boom for their economy. He was ecstatic at the rise of the industry for his people. He wouldn't let the War Council let his people down. He was now invested in his people and actively sought to keep this craze. It is what the fathers would want. As such, Callum would issue endorsements to a multitude of industries. Their approval would be through the roof, and if they maintained this, well, they might just go down in history. After several days, Kalam received notice from Torlak about some cargo he recently acquired. "What news do you bring, Chief General?" Kalam asked. "We were successful in our raid on Demira and Anmira. I have sent cargo ships back to Artre. I suppose you find a way to utilize them," Torlak responded. "What did you bring?" "I have captured slaves of the enemy." "Oh? Then I will get Golem and Brekka to broker some sort of trade agreement with the Union. This will bring us goodwill, and hopefully they will leave us alone," Kalam said, running the newfound success of their once waning economy. "I will procure more cargo ships to the front upon the subjugation of the worlds you come across." Torlak bowed, but not before he stated his final request. "I fear the more we press on into their territories, their security will only increase. Do we have any word on the other war chiefs to send to the front?" "We do," Kalam said plainly. "I will issue a call to available chiefs. Currently, I can only offer Chief Commander Bralo." "He will do," Torlak said with a hint of disdain. "I will report after my next conquest." He gave a final bow and cut the transmission. Kalam changed his call, and Bralo's name was selected. After a moment, the person in question answered. "To whom do I owe the pleasure?" Bralo said in a scaly tone. His face was scarred, and he wore damaged ceremonial armor. His lower jaw was replaced with one made of metal. "Ah, Chief War Councilman, this is unusual. I assume you've already heard," Kalam said sternly, placing a callous facade upon his face. "If you mean the speech by Councilman Polas, then yes. Then you must know what I am asking of you." Bralo nodded. "I am redirecting your forces to the front alongside Chief General Torlak." Bralo laughed before reassuming his previous demeanor. "Little Torlak made Chief General? Well, I am surprised." "That won't be an issue, will it?" Kalam asked. "It will not. So, what do you wish of my forces?" Kalam thought for a moment. "Torlak will require extra hands in his campaign, and his fleet is not well versed in ground combat as yours are." "Very well. I shall see to it. Where will I be going?" "Just beyond the new colony system of Yamela, there is an inner space gate opposite the system. You are free to raid what is left of Demira and Anmira," Kalam explained. "Very well." He hissed before cutting off the transmission. Kalam rested upon his bed and, before he knew it, drifted off to sleep. The first days of the war had started. He and his people were now committed. Kalam woke up from his nap to a plethora of messages, and from his quick assessment, most were good news. All were domestically related, and so he pushed them onto the other 4 council members. Several stated a need for a draft of terms for diplomatic trade, with Brekka manning all relations of logistics, both militarily and commercial. All messages directed toward the military were sent to Reka. He had ways voiced that there needed to be a change in the training regimen to get their ground troops familiar. Finally, he moved the last of the messages that dealt with public relations to Polis. After sending those messages to the appropriate recipients, he donned his white robes and made his way to the Central Council chamber. The other 4 were present, but were busy dealing with issues he had just passed to them on their podium monitors. The drum of clerical workers ran about, each cog in the machine giving orders to their lesser. It was normal for him to see, so he paid it no mind. As it came closer to high sun, the workflow slowed and the chamber was found mostly empty, save for some guards scattered about the room. In the center, a well-dressed worker stood at the center with a data pad in his hand, and he began to disclose the next order of business. For the following hearing, we have the promotion of 2 war chiefs. The first is War Chief Dalagon. He has been in service during the end portion of the border dispute with the Union and has since curbed any unauthorized Union ships from operating within Celian space. The council members were pleased with his assessment and motioned for a second. The second is War Chief Namu. He oversees our armored division and was responsible for the subjugation of multiple Halen deathworms at Mining Facility 113, effectively securing materials needed for ship manufacture and Ice Gate engine cores. His efforts greatly contribute to the current threat we are facing. A round of applause went around the council. "All in favor of their promotion?" Reka announced, and was met with unanimous assent. "Bring them in," He gave a slight bow and motioned for the doors opposite of them to open, and the two in question made their way to the center and knelt. "Raise your heads, warriors," Callum spoke in a tone that demanded silence. "You both have done great work for the Sellian people, and it will be my honor to grant both of you the title of chief captains." Another round of applause came from the councilmen. Both were given a band of cloth that was wrapped around their collar. It was black with a single golden icon of an avian predator native to Sellia called a Revan. All chief captains begin with the Revan. This occasion was showcased on video and to many military installations, especially those these chiefs have served with. Callum spoke. "Now, with your new titles, you will be allocated 250 ships each." Namu and Delogon were in shock. "I know it seems like a lot, it is, but I have confidence you will both deliver to Sellia and her people," they affirmed in unison. "Before you go, once you are acquainted with your fleets, you are to assist Chief General Torlak in his efforts of our most sacred crusade." They both nodded fervently and, when dismissed, promptly left the chamber. When they were clear, the councilmen took their seats. "Only 250? Reka questioned. "I was sure we planned to give them each a fleet of at least 500 ships. "Now, brother," Brekka calmed, "the issue on Halen dampened production, and those death worms were wreaking havoc on the entire world. It can't be helped. 250 each." Reka resigned to the facts. Besides, an additional 500 ships would do well to bolster the campaign fleet. Again, Reka sighed and quietly returned to his podium monitor. "Brekka, how many ships does that bring the main force to?" Callum asked. "Well, Torlak boasts most of the fleet at 1,000 ships total, and with Chief Commander Bralo and now Namu and Dalagon with a total of 650. So 1,650 total ships," Brekka answered. "That's almost as much during the Union border war. It's practically the embodiment of death," Gullum retorted. "Isn't that the point?" interjected Polis, who received agreement from his brethren. "There's no reason we should lessen our forces now. We need to maintain some by the border to keep up appearances so the Union doesn't get any funny ideas." Callum and the other councilmen agreed. They couldn't back down now, but they also couldn't sacrifice forces from the border. Chief General Torlak would have to make do with his current and incoming forces. The War Council adjourned for the day, keen to the workings of increasing military and the threat of Union intervention. Callum thought to himself about the implications of hiding such an entity. Luckily, the time it would take them to reach Sellian space would only take about a year from their closest colony in the outer reaches of the Union. As such, he jammed all signals outbound in their direction. With the day now over, Callum and his council retired for the day.
Outbound transmission. Xenoforce inquiry. 2. Stealthfleetcom.orbicom raidcom. From Early Warning Defense System Athena, Draxus System, anomaly detected. 1,000 signatures detected. Detecting additional 650 signatures. Asset report, relays 0. Stations 1. Satellites 0. Orbital guard unresponsive. No present military force. Requesting support. Nearest response, Alameda System. Estimated arrival 0000. End transmission. Error. Did not send.